but it's 3 in a row for the history makers from Madrid. It's lucky 13 for Real Madrid.
Why do you think it was so difficult for teams to retain their title pre-Champions League period? This was the norm, but apart from Real Madrid's three-peat, it has not been the case for 30 plus years. This has been interesting because the old European Cup was characterised by hegemony, Real Madrid, and then Ajax, then Bayern Munich, then Liverpool and Forest, and then a wee bit of an interregnum, then Milan, and it just couldn't be done for ages in the Champions League until that Real Madrid run. Why so hard? It's just, does this prove really the original kind of talking point about quality? It's fucking hard to win this. And it's just too hard to kind of do it. It exhausts so much resource.
I think that the time that we've stopped is a great example of this. I thought, right, that's Man United cracked it, right, and the next 2-3 years, Man United are going to go in, because that's sort of what they've done in England. You know, they built up and learned and won it and then dominated. And it is exactly that you can't, those teams that we mentioned in the 70s and in the 80s, that they were the best teams and they could legitimately win 3 European Cups, maybe only playing 2 other top sides across those 3 years. That could happen. Now it can't happen. You look at this year, Manchester City, they don't retain it. Why not? Because they ran into Real Madrid. Right, and to do that, they had to run into Real Madrid. Then they would have had to get past Bayern Munich. It is so difficult, and it makes Real Madrid's three-peat, as the listener mentioned there, absolutely incredible, and something that we will look back on and go, oh my goodness, that was something special that I think only that club could do. But I just think it takes so much out of you emotionally, first of all. Physically, I think that a lot of sides have had mixed years the following year after winning the Champions League, that it can have that effect on you. You still get sides, by the way, that are always up there competing. Liverpool, 3 finals in 5 years, and you know, obviously, most teams tend to get to the quarters. But that's the good thing about having the, if you like, the cup tacked on at the end. One bad night across 4 ties, and you could be done. And you can be a wonderful side, but you can have a bad night and you're maybe done in the tie, and that's you gone. I just think, you know, you need to win, 17 matches to win the Champions League. Or, you know, maybe not win them all, but you know what I mean? You've got to negotiate 17 matches to win it. And I just think you're going to run into great sides. So to win it 1 year is a hell of an achievement. To then go and do it again, you can't get the luck of the draw the way you could in previous years, because there was one team from Italy, one team from Spain, one team from England, and if they got each other, which happened a fair old bit. Remember Liverpool got Forest actually that 1 year in the first round. So I just think it's such a monumental Herculean thing to do, because it is the measuring stick. It is where the best players in the world are playing football. You are going to run into the best coaches in the world. You're going to run into good sides, and you may be because it takes all year, you might be slightly off form. In that 2-week period, you might have a couple of injuries. You need a lot to go right for you. And doing it more than once, history tells us that only one club side have been able to do it. And it's a club side where the level of confidence about their ability in that tournament is through the roof. And also, rather strangely, a club side who, if they win the Champions League, don't particularly bother about their league title. Real Madrid, you know, they like to win the league title, but for them, they're almost past it. And I think if people look at Real Madrid's title wins this century, they might be a little surprised by it.
Well, that's what I was just going to go into, because Adam, you and I have spoken about this before, more in the context of Scotland. It's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer as football's modernised. You can be set up as a Scottish club to overachieve in Europe and get all the way to the final, and you know, if the wind's blowing in the right direction, have the best night you'll ever see. Or you can be set up to win a lot of titles but get your arse scalped every single season. You cannot have both. It is not on offer. We've just finished, of course, Manchester United's trebles. There are other doubles and trebles through the history, but it is bloody difficult for the big lads. It's doubly difficult for the elite teams to do both, to win the title and the Champions League.
Yeah, I think as David said there, the 3 in a row that Madrid got, they only won the league once. During that, they finished third in the final season, and in fact, in that period that David mentioned from 2012 to 2019, they only won the league once out of 7 years. Barca and Atletico Madrid were dominating it, so it's a chicken and egg thing. Are all your eggs in the Champions League basket or La Liga? But what history has shown is it's really, really difficult to do both continually, and I think that's it. Maybe some teams might favour the domestic league more because that's their guarantee into the Champions League next year, whereas they maybe don't back themselves to get further than the quarterfinals of the Champions League and then go out, so they sort of lose sight of it as it gets further down. I don't really know, but Madrid just don't seem to have that. But I think for me, it's no different to Man City dominating the Premier League and not being able to get in the Champions League, not being able to go that distance in the Champions League. I think that is the same as Madrid only winning 1 and 7 in the Liga, but getting the 3 Champions Leagues. I think both of those things are great achievements, but the other thing is a big disappointment. So I think it is really difficult to do both. I think as well, probably number of games. Teams are getting fitter. They're still miles away from the levels. I mean, teams are getting fitter in the era we're talking about now, like the kind of late 90s, but they're still miles away from the levels that we see now, from much worse teams in today's era. Man United had to play 13 games in Europe to win it in 1999. When they won it in 68, they played 9 games. Much slower pace, less intensity in the leagues, less travelling, less international games, etc. All of that stuff takes its toll. And I think you're seeing that there's such a strain on clubs now that even the best squads in the world or the biggest clubs in the world just can't do both regularly at all. Yeah, it's really, really difficult to do both, and it just gets worse when you go further down the financial food chain.